Alright class, good morning, happy Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about the basic structure of the Constitution, so how it's broken down, some of the key ideas of what it actually says, besides just the fact that it creates a plan of government. What type of government does it actually create? Our agenda for today is first there's a Kahoot review quiz for you to do. You have a quiz next week, Monday. This will help you prepare and practice for that. We will then take some notes on the structure of the Constitution. There will be a Prezi review that we will go through, so you should get ready to take some notes on that. I will then explain the specific details of what is on your quiz and how you can review and study for that. You can do some review for that. And then there is a worksheet on constitutional principles. When we say principles, we mean key ideas that you will need to do based on a reading that I will provide. That worksheet, since we're already taking some notes, will not be due today at 3 p.m., but tomorrow at 10 a.m. The actual worksheet itself shouldn't take long, but you will have to do a little bit of reading for it too. That might take a little bit longer depending on how well you read and understand what you read. So first thing, there's this review quiz. I will post it on the Constitution Review Materials post. So you can go there, find the Kahoot, and take that quiz. Once again, it is just review practice for Monday's quiz, so take a little bit of time to go through that. We will then go through the structure of the Constitution. We will use a Prezi to do that. We are talking about what parts does the Constitution have and what does it overall say. We're not going to go through it word for word. I will post this Prezi later, but I would strongly recommend you listen and watch this as I explain each part besides just reading the Prezi. So the Constitution can be broken down into three main sections. The first section is called the Preamble. The Preamble is the first part. It is the part that opens the Constitution, and it does the following. 1, it explains the purpose. 2, it identifies the authors who wrote it. And 3, it explains, it's pretty repetitive, but why it was written. Once again, the purpose. The purpose is 6 main goals. I am not going to ask you to memorize these, so don't bother writing them down. But the 6 main goals are to form a more perfect union, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense, to promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty. I'm going to skip through those slides, but if you want to read through them on your own, you're more than welcome to. But you do not need to memorize those 6 main goals. You do need to know what the preamble is and what its purpose is, to explain the purpose of the Constitution and identify who wrote it. The second part of the Constitution are the articles. The articles are like chapters in a book. It's a certain part or section that addresses a different topic related to this plan of government. There are 6 goals in the preamble. There are 7 articles or chapters, so to speak, parts of the Constitution. These parts address a specific aspect of this plan of government. Article number 1, which you do not need to memorize which article says what, because we will talk about these details in the next unit, is about the legislative branch. Article 2 is the executive, and as you can maybe guess, Article 3 is the judicial branch. 4th article is explaining the rights that the states have. We have a federal government, which means power is shared between national, state, and local levels. This is something that's been in the news quite a bit lately with this pandemic and the stay-at-home orders. Article 5 is how to make changes to the Constitution. If you remember, changing the Articles of Confederation was way too difficult, so this addresses that weakness by fixing how to fix the Constitution. Article 6 simply states that the Constitution is supreme. It is the law of the land, the highest law the United States has. And the last article is explaining the process for how to ratify and accept the Constitution as official and as the new plan of government for the United States. Once again, you do not need to know what each article says because we will talk about these details later. Just know that articles are different like chapters in a book. It's a section part of this plan of government in the U.S. Constitution. The third main part of the Constitution, which you actually could break into two parts within it, are the amendments. The first 10 amendments are the U.S. Bill of Rights. These were passed with the Constitution. They were not passed after it. Like we said in yesterday's video, the Anti-Federalists would not support and ratify the Constitution until they added the Bill of Rights first. So these are the first 10 amendments. You guys are currently in the process of summarizing these in your own words. You will finish doing that tomorrow. Last thing, this addresses the 6th article out of the 7, the ratification process. Here's how this will work, and I do want you to know this, so write it down. The first step, after the convention, after this draft of the Constitution has been fully created, the delegates need to go back to their states and inform the people of what the plan is. Share this information because during the convention it was completely private. Step 2 is when you tell the people what the plan is, you then need time to debate the plan, discuss the plan, and figure out whether or not you're going to vote yes, ratify, or no, reject. After you've had time to debate and discuss, state legislatures, so not a national legislature, but each individual state's legislature, needs to make their final vote yes to ratify or no, not to. And at least 9 of the 13 states must say yes in order for it to be accepted. So it's not just majority, it's got to be 9 out of the 13. This ends up happening, and the Constitution gets adopted as the official plan of government for the United States. So once again, I'll post this on Google Classroom if you would like to go through it again. But no, the 3 main parts are the preamble, the articles, and the Bill of Rights. Just so you know, the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments. We have a total of 27 as of April 22, 2020. So we added 17 more since this was accepted in 1787. For your quiz, the content that you will need to study for, and that this will cover, is 1, the origins of the Constitution, how it came to be. 2, the Constitutional Convention, the who, what, when, where, how, and why of it. 3rd, the Federalist debate, Anti-Federalists versus Federalists. What did each group think, and why did they think that way? And lastly, what we just went through today, the structure of the Constitution. The Bill of Rights will not be on your quiz, and the information from the worksheet you will do after this today will also not be on the quiz. It is just this information. I will post a Quizlet for you. There will be review quizzes for you. You should have notes and worksheets, and I will have a practice quiz, not the real thing, just practice version, posted as well. Just so you know, this quiz will be open note. However, you will not be able to use Google. You will not be able to work with partners. It's going to lock your Chromebook. A couple of you, I will make sure you get the copy of this quiz where you can still do it without having your Chromebook locked too. Once again, this is on Monday. Here is the homework that you have for today. You need to go through a reading, which I'll show you in a second, that explains the key ideas of the Constitution. We will call these the constitutional principles. There are 6 in total. The first one is popular sovereignty. The second one is limited government. The third one is rule of law. The 4th, separation of powers. 5th, checks and balances. And lastly, federalism. Your worksheet will only focus on the first 5. Federalism will not be a part of it, but it is still one you will need to know for your test. What I'm going to ask you to do is go through the reading, do extra Googling research if you want. Before you do the worksheet, make sure you fully and clearly understand what each one of these principles, especially the first 5, really are. Understand them. So what you will have to do first, this PDF, I posted too much of it, so these first 2 pages, well, this is just the first page. Skip that part. You don't need to do that. This is where it starts. It will bold the word so you can kind of skim it a little bit. It'll talk about popular sovereignty. It'll talk about limited government, so on and so forth. Do not worry about this web of principles part. You don't need to do that. This is just review material so you know the main structure of the Constitution, preamble, articles, and then there's amendments as well. This is the worksheet part, and this is on a PDF, so I will post a Google Doc version of this. Here's what you need to do. There are 5 questions. Each question has A, B, and C. A, B, and C are each worth 1 point, which means each question is worth 3. There are 5 questions, so 15 points total as a homework grade. The first part, A, is multiple choice. Which of these principles does this quote in the blue box describe? Part B is go to this blue box and choose specific words or phrases. Don't do this for the entire quote, just certain parts of it. Which parts helped you figure out this answer to part A? Underline it, bold it, highlight it, do all 3. I don't care, but make sure you focus just on words and phrases, not on entire sentences or more than that. Part C is explaining the connection between A and B. So explain how what this quote says is an example of one of these principles. So explain 1, what the principle is, and then 2, how you can see it in the quote. Connect the dots between A and B. Give a full explanation for that. I don't need sentences, I just need a complete answer. So there are 5 different quotes. Make sure you do A, B, and C for all 5. This is once again due tomorrow at 10 a.m. and this information will not be on Monday's quiz. If you have questions about the work today or about notes or about the quiz in general, please let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you more tomorrow.